Hi, I'm Laura Bonk, and these are my 5 strategies for promoting my own well being and just overall mental wellness. So, anytime we're thinking about self care, it's really important to be able to identify what our needs are because there are numerous different self care strategies that we can use. But we have to make sure that we're implementing the strategies that are meeting the needs that we have personally. So, just overall in general, we all have the same 6 basic human needs, which are loving connection, growth, certainty, uncertainty, significance, and contribution. So, when I say certainty, really what that means is security and control, feeling like you have some sort of security in your life. And then uncertainty is kind of the opposite of that. That's the adventure and spontaneity in life, not doing the same thing every day. Love and connection, that's kind of self-explanatory. Growth can be anything related to personal growth. It can be growth in your career, growth in your relationships, growth financially, just some sort of movement forward. Then there's also significance, which is, just really that feeling like you matter, feeling like you have a purpose in life, and then contribution. So feeling like you're giving back. Again, these are the 6 basic human needs that we all have in common. It's just that we prioritize them differently based on our personality and the experiences that we've been through. So, for me personally, my top needs are love and connection, growth, certainty, so security, and then I also really value adventure, and so that uncertainty. So then for me, when I've developed a self-care routine for myself, I make sure to include strategies that will be meeting each of these needs. And so I'm just going to kind of go through the list here of the things that I do to make sure that these needs are being met in my own life. So, number 1 is emotional connection. So, there are several different things that I do to meet that need. For me, investing in the relationship that I have with myself has been very pivotal in my self-care journey. So, I'll spend time just being alone. I'll spend time journaling, meditating, being still and sitting with myself, like making sure I'm listening to what's going on inside of me and acknowledging my own needs. So, for example, it's so easy to go through the day just super focusing on the needs of everyone else around us and continuing to ignore our own needs. Really what that does then is makes it super hard to continue to function at our optimal level if we're always focused on the stressors of the day or focused on making sure everyone else's needs are met. And I'm not saying to ignore other people's needs. However, our needs are also equally important, and we're not going to be able to meet the needs of other people in our lives until our needs are being met ourselves. So that's my number 1 strategy of taking care of myself, is just making sure I'm connecting to me. And again, like I said, this can take the form of journaling, meditating, going on walks. I frequently go on walks alone, and just sort of let my mind wander wherever it needs to. I don't have an agenda. I just kind of go and be with myself, spend time with myself. So the number 2, this area focuses on personal growth. So in order to meet this need for myself, I really frequently spend a lot of time working through my own personal development work. And this involves several different areas of my life. So, for example, I will implement personal development work in the emotional, mental, financial, relational, physical, and career areas of my life. So as part of that, like I work through different therapy exercises, that I also actually often assign these exercises to clients as well. So I'll work through those. I spend time working on financial planning, as well as furthering my development as a counselor. So doing a lot of career development activities for that. I also invest into the significant relationships in my life from a relational standpoint. And physical exercise is important to me as well. And so I make sure to incorporate some sort of physical exercise, whether that's just going on a walk some days. I enjoy running, and I also do a lot of yoga to meet that need. So that was number 2. Number 3 is certainty. So that's security piece. To meet this need, this really comes down to setting boundaries around my time. So I set these intentional boundaries, especially when it comes to separating my home life from my work life. So as part of this, I try to create structure for my life. For example, maintaining a consistent bedtime and wake time. I also follow a morning routine to just sort of set intentions for my day. All of these things are really about getting that sense of control over the things that we can control. Because again, that certainty and security is important for all of us. It's just different levels depending on the individual. So for me, like setting intentions for my day really makes a difference in how my day goes. I also practice a lot of breathing and grounding exercises in the morning and throughout the day, just to kind of come back and be focused on the present moment. That gives me a lot of certainty and security, instead of thinking about tomorrow or those trains of thoughts that we can't control. Like, for example, worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day or whatever it is. That doesn't give us a whole lot of certainty. So being able to focus on the here and now really helps give us that feeling of like, okay, I'm in control. I have security in these ways. And then doing things right now to create security for tomorrow or the next day or the next year, whatever it is. I also, to provide some financial security, I track my expenses. I follow a budget. I have that very laid out because for me personally, that helps provide that security and certainty that, I know that's taken care of, so I don't have to be worrying about that so much. And as far as goals for my future, that also having that plan in place gives me a sense of security, and it also meets that growth need that I talked about in number 2. Also, a big part of this is creating a comfortable space in my home. That's what I do. That provides some security for me, some comfort. And so just small things like that can really go a long way in meeting these self-care needs. Number 4 is adventure. I love traveling. I love finding spontaneity in life. However, it's not like we can just go travel all the time. So to meet this need in just kind of a daily way, I try to implement even the smallest of things. So for example, playing with my 5-year-old son. I love playing with him, and that gives me that sense of spontaneity and joy and adventure. I spend, again, a lot of time walking, spend time in nature, depending on the weather. I enjoy going to new restaurants, checking out new places. I incorporate music into part of this too. During the days where I'm busier, just listening to music can kind of get this need met for me. I also just try to find joy in the small things, and having a 5-year-old is helpful with that because they can really, really remind us to find joy in those little things. Okay, number 5. This is one that probably should have gone as my number 1. It kind of lays the foundation for all of this. But throughout the day, I consistently check in with myself just to see what needs, if any, are out of balance. So to do this, I quiet myself and I use body awareness. I really check in to see what's going on in my body. Am I feeling tense anywhere? Am I feeling anxiety in my body? And then I also use mindfulness of the present moment. So yeah, like I said, I slow down long enough to observe what I'm feeling and then let that be a feedback mechanism for what's going on inside of me. So for example, if I'm feeling anxious, I try to identify what need is being neglected. Or if I'm feeling lonely, then I might take time to spend with friends or family. Or if I'm feeling burnt out, and this is a big one, especially for those of us who spend our days giving to people. So if I'm feeling burnt out, then I really make sure to take time and set aside to spend just with myself on investing in that relationship with myself. Because if my cup is empty, then I'm not going to be able to give the way that I want to. So as kind of part of this, the emotions that we experience are feedback mechanisms. That's what emotions are, for the most part. They're there to give us information about what's going on inside of us. So becoming aware of our needs and then using our emotions as sort of like guideposts to identify what need is being unmet is super helpful in developing a self-care routine that will have the most effective and long-term effect. So again, I mean, there's so many different self-care strategies that we can think of, but if we aren't creating strategies that are meeting our personal needs, then they're not going to be as effective and it's not going to be as long-term, and we're not going to be able to live as fulfilled as we can if we are actively trying to meet the needs that we have as individuals.